What is going on, Grinders? It's Chief. We are in the building. It is Sunday, and it is MLB action on the docket. I am Will Priester. To the right of my screen, we have TJ George. To the left of my screen, we have my good friend Taylor. Taylor, what's going on, brother? Looking dapper as usual. But listen, kind of toned down today. I mean, we've got the throwback logo Adidas hoodie. Usually I'm expecting Taylor to have one like silk or cashmere and some aviator glasses. Coming in a little bit more chill today, Taylor. What's going on?
Yeah, got to tone it down. Sunday morning, you can't get too dressed up too early. So maybe later, if it was a night slate, perhaps I would have been a little more prepared. But kind of have a weird little Sunday, smallish Sunday slate. But
yeah,
it would be a good time.
Listen, AKA Taylor, let me paraphrase this for you guys. I'm up a little bit too early today, so I had to turn down the swag. Hopefully during NFL season, Taylor will turn up the swag and we get like a late slate or something like that. At any rate, TJ, our good friend up in Canada, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Not too much. The wife and baby are at the lake this weekend, so I've just been kind of hanging out. Had a really, really tilting UFC day yesterday. Was just a couple punches away from thousands and thousands of dollars, and instead we were just short of breaking even. But other than that, life is really good. The weather is beautiful outside. I got to go to a good concert this week. NFL season's about to start. Life's good.
All right, my brother. Well, listen, we're going to dive into this slate. Obviously, pitching is interesting. I think there's some interesting spots for hitting. All in all, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. And, let's just kind of go overview here. Let's kind of look at pitching top down. Taylor, we'll hand it over to you. Let's just kind of talk about how you feel about the slate and then maybe who you want to play in terms of pitching.
Yeah, so first thing to note is FanDuel has the Coors game on it. So things are going to be a bit different over there. Don't have the Braves or the Rockies obviously on DK, so a little less clear on DraftKings, but we should still have a fairly chalky Astros team, I would think. As far as pitching goes, Dylan Cease is very easily the SP1 against the Marlins, the worst offense in the league. They don't walk. Cease's walk rate is also, I think, the lowest of his career. Strikeout rate is still up there. Leash is long. There's really nothing not to like about him here, except the ownership is going to be insane, but that's just chalk I'm going to eat. I don't really see a way around it. There's not a lot of other stuff to love on the pitching front. We do have other good pitchers. They're just not in great spots. Nick Lodolo facing Milwaukee. Tanner Bybee against Minnesota. Hunter Brown at Fenway against Boston. Bassett, I think, is an okay SP2 on DK against Oakland. This kind of like Barrios on Friday. Like I had a lot of burritos and I had a lot of Oakland and a lot of burritos.
How many burritos did you have?
I did have a burrito on Friday to celebrate Barrios. So I will be playing plenty of Oakland and plenty of Bassett. It's kind of one of those situations. I think there's merit to both sides of that one. And otherwise, I don't really love anything. Cease by a mile. And then after that, you kind of cast a wide net if you want with SP2.
Yeah, and let me just say, on the back end of your analysis, Taylor, this is close to some of the highest ownership I feel like I've seen in a while on an 8-game slate. Like we've got Cease at roughly 63% ownership, and I am looking at the bat projections, but I mean, still, it's warranted because why not play him in the spot, right? It's like you don't have to overthink it. And I understand like any pitcher can get blown up. I think we saw a similar situation with this one with Chris Sale earlier in the season against Oakland. It just didn't kind of work out. But like you just can't. Sometimes you just have to eat the chalk and not overthink these spots. I'm not telling you to play the way I do. I'm also not telling you to play the way my good friend TJ does. If I'm in the camp that I probably just go 100% Cease and let the chips fall where they may. I think if TJ's not going that direction, I'd be shocked today. We do play similarly from time to time on slates like this. not trying to get ahead of his analysis, but just talking through like 60% Cease on this slate is probably like 100% for me. Appreciate the analysis, Taylor. TJ, what are you doing at pitcher? And are you in camp Dylan Cease lock button?
So I didn't actually lock button him today. I'm fully okay with that strategy.
You're getting muted. I'm just kidding.
I don't hate that strategy though, for what it's worth. Like, I think that is 100% viable today. What I did though is I'm fading Bassett, and I'm just gonna be even on Cease. I'm not gonna let him make or break my day, and I'm just playing a bunch of gross low owned SP2s. So I got a lot of Albert Suarez, a lot of DL Hall, going with the cheap options today. Playing some Hunter Brown with no Devers in that Boston lineup. Tanner Bybee because he's got 5 righties in the Minnesota lineup. A little bit of David Festa, who has shown the big strikeout rate, and then a little bit of Jeffrey Springs, who projects really well in the bat. So I'm going with just even on Cease, not letting him make or break my day, fading Bassett, and then going overweight on a bunch of low-owned SP2s.
All right. Listen, believe it or not, I did not expect that coming from TJ today. I thought for sure he'd be on team lock button Cease, but that's okay. Like, we totally get it. You mentioned Hunter Brown, and I want to bring this back to you, Taylor, because when I looked at that lineup today, I immediately went. So when Hunter Brown opened, he was at a 5.5 strikeout prop, and I just wasn't going to touch it today for what it's worth. Like, I was like, no, I'm not messing with Brown today against Boston. But then they rolled this lineup out, and I said, well, wait a minute. Like, one or two extra strikeouts here, it looks like. And then I decided to invest in the over 5.5 based on that lineup. Where did you land on Hunter Brown here with this? And look, Boston's lineup isn't bad, so I don't want anybody to think they're bad. They're just slightly watered down. How do you view Hunter Brown with a slightly watered down lineup for Boston?
I think he's okay. He's not cheap anymore. Like, he spent a lot of the season in the 7K range after he sucked in April, but he's been quite good for a while now. I never mind getting the guy like that. He obviously has quite a bit of upside. We saw Eric Eddy strike out all the Red Sox yesterday, so there's upside there. Brown does have a reverse split, so in theory, the matchup against lefties is not a bad one for him. I'm just not getting to him a ton. I have him in about 10% of my lineups as of now. I'm just kind of paying down for Bassett more, even though I hate that.
Coward. Coward.
I know. Like I said, I don't like it. I don't like the way it came out, but it's kind of the nature of this slate is kind of just uncomfortable.
All right, should I swap it right now and go with the Cease lock? I just built a set of lineups with the Cease lock, and my lineups that don't have him locked, I was able to get like 35% Aaron Judge because of the double spend down lineups. But with him locked, I can only get 20%. So I got a lot less of the expensive bats when I lock him in. Just for fun. You know what? Yeah. It's the squad. We're doing it with the squad. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to switch the lineup set, and I'm going to go with the lock of Dylan Cease just because that's what some of the people in chats are doing. That's what Will said I should do. I want to just roll with the squad today.
All right. Squad ride, DFS style. Dylan Cease lock button. Sounds good to me. I am going to mention, I want to bring up a couple of these cheap pitchers, and then we'll just talk about stats. So I'm not getting a haul today. Suarez Springs just kind of didn't make it for me. Stroman, man, his K rate has come down. We're getting some chatter on JP Sears. I don't like Sears. I don't plan to play Sears. Is anybody playing JP Sears?
I have one JP Sears lineup today.
Okay. So one, I'll consider that a lot closer to zero. TJ, yeah. TJ, any Sears?
I am a JP Sears truther. I love me some JP Sears. I always play him. It typically goes well, but I like doing it at home, and I like doing it on a higher strikeout team than the Blue Jays. So no JP Sears for me.
Okay. Somebody did. I think we did say we have Kid Forever. He said, "Why not Festa?" I think we did mention Festa. Or I know TJ mentioned Festa.
I got Festa.
Yeah, he showed some strikeout upside. I think you're just playing him because the strikeout upside is there, not because it's going to manifest itself today actually. I mean, if it does, then, I mean, we're looking good. But, I do think his strikeout upside is limited. I did take him over 4.5 strikeouts. Well, I got him at 4 on underdog for what it's worth. All right, let's talk through some stats here, and then we'll kind of go position by position. We don't have to name everybody, but Taylor, if you can just kind of give me let's go top 3 here. If you could only play 3 teams today, where do you feel like you're going to plant your flag?
So on FanDuel, obviously Atlanta's in the mix against Kyle Freeland. On DraftKings, the chalk is going to be Houston, I think, and the Yankees. They both have implied run totals over 5. They're good spots against weak pitchers. No qualms with that. San Diego, I think, is pretty interesting against Max Meyer on the road. They've been quite good.
Low ownership for them also. I want to mention it. Very low considering this spot. That's amazing.
It's surprising, but I guess with Houston and New York pulling ownership and Atlanta on FanDuel, it kind of makes sense. I don't think Texas is awful against Stroman. Like you said, the strikeouts have not been there. They never really were, but he's not that imposing. I'm a little worried about how much Baltimore I have. It is a good lineup, but Springs is a good pitcher when he's healthy. He seems to be back close to full strength now after a handful of starts. So I think kind of as the low-owned, high-upside stack, the Orioles are interesting on the slate. And I mentioned getting to Oakland quite a bit against Bassett. His numbers against lefties are really just average or worse.
Yeah.
And the A's do have quite a bit of power in the lineup. 3-4 of the first 5 hitters are lefties against him. The non-lefty is Rooker, the best hitter in the lineup. So they stack up pretty well there. So both sides of that look good to me. And then I'm also getting to a bit of Milwaukee against Lodolo.
Okay. All right. TJ, over to you. A couple top stacks, in your build.
All right. Well, since Taylor mentioned Oakland and we are over 50 likes, I'll unveil the first Spidey Bomb. Seth Brown, Spidey Bomb number 1. We'll get the second one at 75 likes, third at 100. So keep smashing that like button. I do have a total of 4 of them today if we need. So keep smashing that like button, and I got more Spidey Bombs for the people. The first one is Seth Brown. I love Oakland today as well. Atlanta on FanDuel, and then Houston and New York are kind of like the top 3, like objective, raw point stacks on the board. But the 4 that I find myself getting to the most in terms of just some lower ownership, Toronto is not super low owned, but I like them as well. And then Texas, Cleveland, and Oakland. Texas, Cleveland, and Oakland are 3 teams that I really like for tournaments today. Texas I wrote up as my favorite sneaky stack on the expert survey today. And then I would want to throw in Milwaukee as well. More of a mini stack for me, but I do really like Milwaukee with some Hoskins, some Churio, some Sanchez.
All right. Sounds good. And if I could mention my favorite stack, you guys have already mentioned it, but I do like Texas quite a bit against Marcus Stroman today. That is the team that I would plant my flag on. If I could only play one team, it would be the Texas Rangers. I just can't express how bad Marcus Stroman has been statistically this season. Just not nearly as good as he used to be. Used to be hover around, a 20 to 21 to 22% K guy and get a lot of ground balls. And now he's just giving up so much power and hard contact. I just think I'm not going to say he's washed. He's having a rough season. So just going to lean in Texas there. All right, we're going to go around the horn position by position, and then we will close this thing out. And then, guys, if you agree with everything that our counterpart says, then we can just move to the next one. Taylor, we'll start at catcher, and I know it might be a little bit different on FanDuel, like you said, with the Braves, the Rockies game included in that one. So if you have any killer points, then by all means, please make those. But we're starting at catcher. Taylor, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think d'Arnaud is going to be – he's kind of expensive, so not a must getting him in your Brave stack, but obviously he looks good against Freeland, as all the righties do. I expect Yainer Diaz to kind of be the chalky one, especially on DK against James Paxton. I'm getting to a lot of Gary Sanchez. You can play him or Contreras in your Brewer stack. Given the discount, I'm getting to Gary. Obviously, Contreras is great also. it's not a deep position today. We don't have Shea Langelier, for example. We have Kyle McCann, so I have a couple of lineups with him as a cheap catcher. David Fry for some power, Bo Naylor if you want to stack Cleveland, but don't love a lot of catcher today.
All right, TJ, over to you.
Yeah, Bo Naylor has been my favorite cheap catcher on basically every slate. Kirk is in a great spot. Probably would be my. Actually, no, I would probably go Sanchez over Kirk as a cash option, but both it'd be choosing between those two guys. Sanchez, Naylor, Diaz, and Kirk are my 4 highest owned. Austin Wells and William Contreras kind of round out the crew for me.
All right, sounds good. And I do really like Kirk today, believe it or not, TJ. So love that call. Obviously, I know Taylor mentioned Diaz is probably going to be the chalk, and he is showing up as the chalk mostly. Got him around 50%, 14.45 to be exact. So he's getting a fair amount of ownership. So it looks like you can be, if you almost play anybody else, you're getting different, it seems. TJ, we're going to keep it with you. First base, what do we got?
Vlad Guerrero, my highest owned guy here, and I think the top play at the position overall, except for on FanDuel, where you have Matt Olson. Seth Brown, Spidey Bomb, my number 2 guy. I got a ton of him. I love him as a cheap option. If I'm picking between him and DeZenzo, I'm definitely rolling with Seth Brown as a sneakier option here. Reese Hoskins batting second. I love today, either as part of a stack or as a one-off. Josh Naylor, Ryan Mountcastle. And then if you need another cheap option, I think Ty France or Nathaniel Lowe are totally fine as well.
Yep, love the low call. Taylor, over to you. First base, what do we got?
Yeah, TJ ran it down well. I think Ty France is okay as a punt on DK 2600. Cronenworth, you can play Cronenworth or Rise here. Cronenworth being the better hitter would be the one I'd prioritize for 300 more. Love the Mountcastle call. Love the Seth Brown thing. And Jose Miranda if you want to stack Minnesota.
Yep, and I do love Cronenworth as well. If I had a second team on the day, Taylor, it would definitely be the San Diego Padres. Love them today. All right, Taylor, let's take it to second base.
Second base, Altuve looks like the chalk in the Astros lineup against Paxton. Nothing wrong with that. Abraham Toro and Zach Geloff, a couple of A's you can play. I'm getting to more Toro here as the lefty against Bassett. Jonathan India, I think we haven't really talked about Cincinnati a lot, but they're in kind of an interesting spot in Milwaukee today. I don't hate that. Xander Bogaerts, if you want to stack the Padres, and I guess Jackson Holiday's okay, lefty. I'm not totally sold on that, but if you want to stack Baltimore, he's been quite good since he came back, so fine with it.
All right, TJ, over to you.
Yeah, not the strongest position today. Brandon Lau is going to be my highest owned. I love him in tournaments as a one-off, not stacking a lot of Tampa, but I love Brandon Lau as a one-off today. Altuve and Torres are both perfectly fine. Cronenworth perfectly fine. But I'm just mixing in some guys in some stacks here. So Abraham Toro, Jonathan India, Marcus Semien, Davis Schneider, Spencer Horowitz, and Geloff too.
Okay. Sounds good. And I like the Geloff call. Once again, these lefties, man. I know, Taylor, I know you're playing some Chris Bassett today, correct? But that's just more out of, let's call it necessity rather than wanting to play him. You just kind of have to spread it around a little bit. But I do agree with you. I know you mentioned earlier. I do think some of these lefties from Oakland get to him a bit. Love the Geloff call. All right, TJ, I think we're moving to third base. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And at third base, we got Spuddy Bomb number 2, Jose Ramirez. Anytime I can get him for better than plus 500, I love me some Jose Ramirez to hit a home run. I think he's in a great spot tonight against Festa. He's my highest owned guy here, followed by Ernie Clement in a nice batting order spot, nice and cheap for the Blue Jays. Josh Smith leading off for Texas. Love Texas today. Love Josh Smith leading off. Bregman, Toro, Schneemann, Marte, Young, Jazz, all these guys are fine. Manny Machado, totally fine. But Ramirez, Clement, and Smith are my top 3 today.
All right, sounds good. I like the Ramirez call. Once again, I do like David Festa for props. I'll say that again. I did take him. I got him at 4 on underdog. I thought that was a fairly good line. I think I think he can get 4 even with a low strikeout lineup with upside for 6. So took him at 4 there. But still love Jose Ramirez batting third. Taylor, over to you.
Yeah, I love all that stuff. My highest owned 2 guys are different though. Kobe Mayo as a punt on DK against Springs in that Orioles lineup, and then Royce Lewis. I am getting to the Twins a decent amount against Bibee. Royce Lewis hitting homers every day is his thing, so I'm fine with that. As a kind of expensive guy that won't get a ton of ownership. So otherwise, Bregman, Ramirez, Machado, mentioned Toro again, but pretty good position at 30.
Let me just say, man, in terms of Royce Lewis, Taylor, the Minnesota Twins have been my most rostered team this season. For whatever reason, they just stay in this 3 to 4K range. The prices aren't coming up. I feel like the only person they really priced up earlier this season was Jeffers when he was on like the biggest tear of the century, and Correa for a while. Correa started like, I don't know, 3,800 4K, and he got hot, and he finally got to 5K, and then he got hurt. But like generally speaking, they just have not priced this team up, and I just keep playing them. So love the call on Royce Lewis. Here we go, moving to shortstop. Taylor, let's keep it with you.
Yeah, so a lot of good stuff here. Obviously, Seager against Stroman's going to look good. Ellie De La Cruz, even as a one-off Cincinnati. The guy I have the most of is Gunnar Henderson, even lefty-lefty against Springs, just because I'm stacking Baltimore quite a bit. Willie Adames against Lodolo is pretty intriguing in a Brewers stack. Otherwise, you can go cheap here with Schneemann or Clement. Jeremy Pena looks like he's going to be somewhat popular. That's, I think, pretty questionable chalk given the opportunity cost at shortstop, but I get it. And then Ha-Sung Kim is okay if you're stacking the Padres.
Yep, love Ha-Sung Kim. I mean, I think we all feel like we wish we could get him further up in the order, but it doesn't matter. Like, this is a pretty good spot for this team. Can't stress enough how much I like the Padres in addition to Texas. TJ, over to you.
Adames, Pena, and De La Cruz are totally fine. I like them. I'm playing a lot of them, but it's Corey Seager. He is my second highest owned bat behind Aaron Judge today. He's my favorite bat for the price on the slate. I love getting to some Corey Seager, and he's my highest owned guy by a lot.
Okay, sounds good. TJ, keeping it with you. Moving to the outfield, always a position where we just have a plethora of options, especially cheapies that we have access to. What are we doing in the outfield?
Highest owned guy, like I said, is my highest owned bat on the slate, Aaron Judge. We are just 3 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2, and Spidey Bomb number 3. You can get him for better than plus 1,000. And he's also my second highest owned outfielder on the slate. It is Will Brennan. I'm getting to a ton of today, batting second for Cleveland. Speaking of cheapies, batting near the top of the lineup, Johnny DeLuca for Tampa Bay, getting a lot of him. Followed by Yordan Alvarez, Jackson Chourio, Josh Smith, Lawrence Butler. Love me some Jackson Merrill today. Getting some Stanton, Soto, Springer, and then Anthony Santander. Another guy is probably going to hit one out of the park.
All right, sounds good. Taylor, anything to differ with?
Just the Oakland guys, Blade, Rooker, Lawrence Butler. I love them all quite a bit. They're my 3 highest owned outfielders right now. Eloy Jimenez is pretty cheap in the Orioles lineup against Springs. Austin Slater, a full punt. Pinch hit risk, obviously, but just kind of hope he does something in his first 2 or 3 at-bats before he gets lifted. I like the Brennan call a lot. Minnesota, you can play Buxton, Kepler, Wallner in the outfield. Buxton's the only one that's kind of pricey, but pretty cheap, all things considered overall. Blake Perkins, I guess, if you need a punt, is fine. And then the Atlanta stuff on FanDuel, obviously, with Soler, Ozuna, guys like that.
Okay, sounds good. And it is 1:15. The slate is actually kicking off at 1:35. So we've made it through the slate. We've got a little bit of time for shenanigans. But before the shenanigans, I know we've been handing out Spidey bombs. And TJ has already given us, if I'm not mistaken, 3 Spidey bombs. TJ, is that correct?
It is. We got Seth Brown, Jose Ramirez, Will Brennan. I got one more. If we get 19 more likes, get us up to 125.
Okay, and then Taylor, any home run calls that you like outside of the Spideys? Well, I don't know. We can call this Taylor's take them to the yard. I don't know. We'll call it something catchy, Taylor. We're going to do this.
Taylor's bomb jangles. Tay's bomb jangles.
There you go.
I was trying to think about like a wardrobe reference, since Taylor's typically pretty snazzy. But I don't want to do a play on like Swift. So I don't know. We'll come up with something, Taylor. Anyway, no. What do you have for home run calls today?
Let's see. I should have mentioned Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield. I think he's in a good spot against Heaney, just like the rest of the Yankees right-handers. Not on the main slate, but Andy Pages kind of as a sleeper later on against Bailey Falter, I think is in a good spot. And I mentioned Gary Sanchez as my highest owned catcher, so let's hope he hits one out for Milwaukee today.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And then we've got the Spidey bombs there. If I could submit one home run call outside of the ones, it's Jake Cronenworth here, 201 ISO, 17% K rate, facing Meyer, who's given up a 229 ISO in the season, 318 ISO over the past 30 days. I know Cronenworth hasn't been hot, but man, the numbers just seem to line up for him in this spot. I know it's in Miami. I still think he's going yard. And it looks like Brandon Mitchell Peralta raking too at 2.3. Don't you know it? Old man Peralta has just been out here smashing right now. Looks like he's back in Arizona. So anyway, we've got that out of the way.
The Arizona lineup just came out, and my goodness, is it like they're not on the main slate, but wow, is that an awful lineup for Arizona? Perdomo, McCarthy, Gurriel, Bell, Grichuk, Suarez, Del Castillo, Newman, Thomas. No Carroll, no Marte, no Moreno, no Walker, no, like they are just down some bodies right now.
Yeah, man. Good luck. Good luck, Arizona. But listen, everybody's got to have a day off at some point. So we'll see how they fare with that. I'm going to the live stream chat to take some questions, and we're kicking this thing off. We got Crazy Coop, and he's saying, and this one looks like it's actually more for me. He said, FanDuel, are you more willing to fade Coors on a smaller slate like today? Chief, we know your answer. Absolutely. I'm gonna, I would be fading Coors. But once again, guys, my philosophy is, how often does Coors pop off for the possible ownership they get and the higher price bats when they're there? So that's typically why I'm taking the fade, but more so when I feel like I have a lot more options available. So like if it's a 5-game slate and you've got Coors and like nothing, then of course, like I'm going to squeeze Coors in there. Today, I think it's an 8-game slate on FanDuel, right, Taylor? 8 games. I do think you have some options. Like I do like Texas. I do like San Diego. So I'm probably more willing to fade them because I am only just playing one lineup today because we're live here. But I'll ask you guys, are you willing to fade Coors? I guess I'll lean more with Taylor here for this one. Are you willing to fade Coors on a small slate like today?
Yeah, I'm always willing to fade bats that are going to be high owned. There's just a wide range of outcomes. Freeland has actually been kind of pesky lately also, for whatever that's worth. There's enough else to like to where Coors is hardly the only thing you can play over there.
Okay. All right. Next question here. This one is coming from where'd it go? My Discord's acting out. Okay, here we go. This is coming from Falcor. QQ, FanDuel single entry, Alex Suarez or David Festa to get the bats, or just play Cease? TJ.
I'd say just play Cease.
Okay. Going back to you, Taylor. This is coming from Beaner1290. Favorite pitcher for FanDuel GPP?
It's got to be Cease by default. He just projects so much better than everyone else. But I guess I would say Bassett if you want to play somebody else, or Springs, I guess.
It's Hunter Brown for me.
Okay. And this is coming from Amateur Hour, but I'm going to call him Amateur Home Run since we're talking baseball, even though I know it's Amateur Hour. Can you talk Suarez versus Festa for DK GPPs and why? Give that one to you, TJ, because I know you're looking at some Suarez.
They're both cheap, so I think they're viable. I have more Suarez just because he's even cheaper. Festa has very high strikeout rate, very low pitch count. And so it's scary against a team like Cleveland that doesn't strike out an absolute ton to get to be able to get to them early, because if he doesn't get to them early, he's not going to be putting up many points. So I do have him just because I think because he's such a good strikeout guy, he could get there. I think I like Suarez a little bit better just because I think he can go longer into this game. Neither of them are safe, but both totally viable for tournaments. I give the slight edge to Suarez.
Okay, sounds good. Next question here. This one is coming from Yaz's Army. I faded Houston in a large field GPP, which is scary, but do you guys think it's a viable way to get different? I'm assuming he's talking DraftKings since FanDuel has Coors. Taylor, how do you feel about fading Houston in a large field?
Taylor's tailored torches. Maybe. Yeah, fading Houston's totally fine. Like, it's not the greatest lineup. I get why they're chalky. It's a good matchup against Paxton. The park's good. I think wind's blowing out also. But again, bats are not something you absolutely have to play, especially in a large field tournament. Fading Houston is probably the way to go.
Okay. Don't mind that. We've got one coming in from Beaner, so I'm going to stick with that. Beaner says, what's the pitch count for Schwellenbach? I don't have that one up. I'm only looking at DraftKings main slate. Anybody have the pitch count up for Schwellenbach? I know you were looking at FanDuel earlier, Taylor.
That projects him for 82 pitches, and the RotoGrinders projections have him at 88.
Okay, so let's call it 85. We'll split the difference. He probably ends up somewhere around there. I am hopping into the YouTube stream, and this was coming from Andrew Martinez. It says Bibby Boston stack or Hall with an O stack.
I go Hall. Those.
TJ.
I go Hall with those.
All right, good friend of the show, Eric Johnson, aka Lippy. QQ is today the day the Reds break the slate. Taylor.
I hope not, because I do not have that much of them. So, no.
Okay. Love the Cease Suarez combo on DK. That's coming from Doug Geely. And we don't have any more questions right now. So what I'll do, I'm going to give the floor to Taylor. Taylor, if you have any, you just maybe want to give a closing overview and kind of what your thoughts are for the slate. Do the same thing with TJ. Well, right under the gun here, we've got one from Brian Marshall. Cincinnati, a viable stack option for DK GPPs. I'm going to say yes. Taylor, what say ye?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of them, like I said, but I like pretty much anyone is stackable on this slate. There's not a ton of clarity, especially on DK. I have a stack of at least every team once. Even Miami, there's apparently a Miami stack in my pool, which will be at the bottom of the standings once the slate ends. But yeah, Cincinnati's kind of in the middle of the pack for me.
Okay. And then TJ, how do you feel about Cincinnati?
I think, they're absolutely viable. I don't quite understand why the chat seems to be in love with them today. It seems like everybody is heavily on Cincinnati when they're one of 3 teams of the day with a total lower than 4. So I don't fully understand the intense love in the chat, but yes, they are absolutely viable.
Okay. Sounds good. We've got Day coming in. Favorite Texas batters. Just stay with you, TJ.
Josh Smith, Corey Seager, and Leody Taveras as a little what's the word? The comebacker stack.
Okay.
Wrap around, reach around.
All right, here we go. This is coming from Boney SP4. Taylor, Brown or Schwellenbach on FanDuel?
I would take Brown. Don't want to mess with Coors if I don't have to.
Okay. Hey, we're back in the live stream chat. Questions are coming in now. Beater1290 says, what's your favorite stack for FanDuel? Taylor, we'll stick with you.
I would say Oakland still. I don't know. Bassett's not going to be as owned over there, but he still might catch some at a sub 9K salary. So Oakland days.
Okay, sounds good. Last one here, FanDuel GPP. You think Rangers come very low owned today? Thinking of stacking them with chalky Houston Astros. TJ.
Yeah, that's why I like them, is because they're going very underowned.
Okay. Back over to you, Taylor. Another one from Beaner1290. Will you guys play the Yankees bats today? Taylor, how do you feel about the Yankees bats?
I like the spot. They're kind of my stand, though. I don't have a ton of them, which is frightening. I do have Judge more as a one-off than full stacks of the Yankees, but no qualms with it at all. Obviously, Heaney's homer prone lefty, and there's power there.
Okay. TJ, if you're still in the bat, I do have the bat pulled up, but I'd have to refresh real quick. Who was that? Okay, yeah, Musa Halo asked, which red has the highest pinch hit risk?
Fairchild, I believe.
Okay. Eric Johnson, QQ, does the Twins Cleveland game go over 8? Taylor.
I will say yes, it will.
Okay. Sounds good. That is all the questions in the YouTube chat.
There's a question that just says Sogard, which I'm not sure what they're asking, what format, where you want to play him, but I wouldn't be wanting to play Sogard regardless. So,
all right, Carolina guy 828. We'll just stay with you, TJ, since you're already speaking. FanDuel GPP favorite stack to win it all.
Texas.
Okay. Let's see here. DePrent says, would you play Springs on FanDuel? My answer is no. I'm going to make that an executive decision. Jeffrey Battaglia says Suarez or Springs. Have you settled in on Suarez, TJ? Is that what you settled in on?
Yeah, I do have some Springs on DraftKings too, but I would go with Suarez.
Okay. This one is coming from Eric Johnson again. Chief favorite props today. I did take Springs less than 16.5. Pitching outs. Let me see. Let me go back and just kind of see what else I have in general. I did take Hunter Brown more than 5.5 with a slightly watered down lineup. I also took Josh Smith from Texas, more than 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I took Jerkson Profar from San Diego, more than 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I took Marcus Stroman. He was at 4 strikeouts on Underdog. I took less than that projection. And I mentioned I took David Festa at more than 4 strikeouts on Underdog. Once again, I'm getting a little bit of value on Underdog with Festa because the line is 4.5. And I think I'm getting a little bit in the other direction with Stroman because I think he's at 3.5. But once again, that's how I played it on Underdog, and those are some of the props that I have. Mr. Richard says, good luck, everyone. Thank you, sir. What's the winning stat for DK? Would that also be Texas? I do like Texas personally. Taylor, this will be our last question for you. How do you feel about, unless we get a flurry of more questions, how are you feeling about Texas?
Yeah, I have no qualms with them. I like the spot. Good park for power, especially lefties. So thumbs up.
Okay, and then TJ, last question here for you. I'm in the live stream chat. DK GPP 2v2. And I know you already mentioned Sogard. Altuve Sogard or Torres Pena?
Torres Pena.
Okay. We are getting really close. Boss brought a question here. Boston or Oakland?
Oakland.
Okay, and then back over to you, Taylor. I'm going to give you both of these: Bassett or Sears. How do you feel about the difference between those two?
Bassett is where I'd lean.
And then Festa or Sears.
I would take Sears, but not a strong conviction there.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. And I'm actually, man, I'm trying to put a button on my lineup here with my Texas San Diego stat. But man, it's really throwing a wrench for me with this pitching because I want to just play one of the other expensive guys. So I got 4 minutes to figure that out. I don't see
You got Tavares in there? Get Tavares as a cheapie and spend up a pitcher.
Well, no, I've got some cheapies in there. None of my outfielders are over 4K. But anyway, well, that might be. Let me see. Let's see.
Nice question from Clouds LLC. TJ, top 3 movies out in theaters right now. I would probably say Deadpool and Wolverine, Twisters, Inside Out 2 off the top of my head. I'll have to check if anything else just recently got in there, but I would go Deadpool and Wolverine, Twisters, and Inside Out 2. You got some for the whole family, some for just the adults, and something right in the middle. Don't waste your money on seeing Borderlands or Harold and the Purple Crayon. I feel pretty confident. Maybe go see some Alien Romulus when that one comes out. But Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Twisters would be the top ones in there right now.
All right. Sounds good. I don't see. Oh, it's J3 asked, did we get Chiefs? But K of the bidet. If I was only going to play one prop today, I would say it would be. Let's see, who do I want to choose between my pitchers here? I'm probably going Springs less than 60.5 pitching outs if I had to only choose one. And there you have it, folks. We're about to hit lot. Thank you guys for joining us. It is a Sunday. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, time with your family to look at our somewhat beautiful faces. I'm Chief. That's TJ. That's Taylor. This is Big Crunch Time. We will see you back here on tomorrow.